Hello, and welcome to episode 27 of the Never... Was it 27 or 28? Did I say?
I thought you said we've done 27. So that would make this the 28.
Oh, God. No, it is 20. No, we've done 26.
Oh, we've done 26. Okay, so now we've done 27.
Well, now we're doing 27.
Oh.
We could still lose this episode to time, to a mysterious fire.
God, please no.
Yeah. But welcome to episode 27 of the Nethergreen podcast. I am your host, Hector.
And I'm your host, Dan.
Oh, Bradley died.
Yeah.
Over a year ago.
Dan killed Bradley.
Yeah, he died from COVID-related injuries. Yeah. How are you? I'm just going to use your real name. That was a bit. How are you, Hector? Because I'm not going to call you Dan the entire episode. That'd be foolish and immature.
That'd be annoying.
That'd be really annoying. Eventually, I'd forget who Dan actually is, and you would just become Dan in my mind.
That'd be inconvenient for me, because all of my documents and identity says Hector.
Yeah, and I've become Hector, so Bradley would actually just be lost to the void.
There's no more Bradley.
There'd be no more Bradley.
Just Dan and Hector.
What would the actual Dan become at that point? Would he become Bradley, or was he a new person completely?
Oh no, Dan's also dead.
Oh.
Yeah.
We'd have to kill Dan.
Yeah, we'd have to
keep this
kill
bit
Dan.
going.
Yeah.
But how are you, Hector? It's been a little while since the last episode. I'll actually check what date that was. It was August 15th.
Wow, that was a while ago.
It was a while ago.
So it's roughly just under a month ago.
Yeah. We had a good 3-month run. 3-week run where we that made it sound much better. Yeah. We had a 3-week run where we released an episode a week, and then we took another month and a month.
That's not too bad, to be fair. That's not too bad. Yeah.
It could be worse. We still released way more episodes this year than last. I can't believe last year we only got 4 episodes out.
Wow. 4
in the entirety of 2022.
Well, I guess we were busy. We were busy battling stuff.
Yeah, we had wars raging, and I remember you went to you went overseas to fight the terrorists in that war.
Yeah, in Iraq.
Yeah, in Iraq.
Yeah, Turkmenistan. Yeah,
I personally was one of the first men on Jupiter. I went up in the International Space Station.
Wow.
So it was just I can't believe we haven't talked about that, but it was just, and we're not going to either. But it was just a really busy year.
It was. It was a phenomenal year. Yeah.
I mean, I'll actually be quite honest. Last year, I felt disheartened. I didn't know if I could still podcast without weed.
Oh shit! Yeah, because always every time that we did the podcast before we get high.
Yeah, episode 1 to about, I want to say it would be like 22, 23. I was high for all of them.
Actually, another thing, there's very few podcasts that we've done where at least I'm not drinking. This might be one of the very,
I honestly
very few.
think this might be the first completely sober episode, because
This might be.
Yeah. I've had a bit of nicotine, but apart from that,
I'm completely sober.
Yeah, we haven't had a single
dead cold,
drink.
Stone cold
yeah.
sober.
And honestly, I don't like it. Stop this
you know
episode.
What the funniest thing is? This one is going to be the best episode ever.
This is going to prove
be so
that alcohol is bad.
Yeah. We're actually going to become NA advocates and change people's lives.
Yeah. Well, I already have been.
Yeah, that's
for
true.
years, you know. Even while I was smoking, I was just going in blazed out of my mind, being like, "Don't drink."
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, what have you been up to in the last almost 2 months?
Well, I've been doing a lot of job hunting because basically
you were fired.
Yeah, I was in a fire.
Yeah, your building was on fire. You set the fire.
Yeah, I was in a fire, and now I have to get a new job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, the reality is, because I've been in my current job I've been in this job for a year and a half now, which is, I've been there for quite a long time. Yeah.
That's dedication, that's loyalty.
Yeah. It feels like
and you're
a long
leaving
time.
now.
Yeah, now I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Well, no, the reason why I'm leaving is because I was never going to be there forever.
Yeah.
Because, it wasn't like an agency where they have loads of projects coming through and you do them as a developer. It was a company.
Yeah.
And, they had a finite amount of stuff that they needed me to do.
Yeah.
And, it's done now.
And you did it.
Yeah. And I did it. So, but they're not kicking me out. They're, there's still stuff to do, but it's, little bits here and there. There's not really any point in me sticking around to do them. So,
very fair.
So, basically, I've started looking for new jobs, applying, and I had one of the interviews today, which I think, out of all the interviews I've had so far, this has been well, I can't say it's been the best interview because I don't know how I did yet. I guess I'll find out.
It could be your worst.
It could be my worst. They could call me up and say, Hector, we're suing you.
Hector, you're going to go to prison for 10 years.
You're going to prison for a long time. We actually called the current place that's calling you. They're firing you. They're firing you now. Okay?
Not only are they firing you, but they're suing you for all the pay you've had.
Exactly.
You owe a lot of money, boy.
So I don't know whether it was a good interview, but this was the interview that I enjoyed the most.
Okay.
And it went on for a really long time. So I showed up like 20 minutes early.
So it was in person?
It was in person. This is
Okay.
also the only in-person interview I've had so far. Because
where's COVID gone? That's really...
Well,
the world's
not even
changed.
that, because all the job interviews that I'm going for are for like developers. So most of the time, you just go into a call and they'll be like, hey, here's the test. I'm going to watch you, share your screen, do this.
Yeah.
That's the interview, basically. Most of the time. Well, for some of the ones that I've had so far, or at least it's just been like in a call.
Yeah.
But this one was completely different. It was kind of like more of a nice, like friendlier interview.
It was a vibe
and
check.
yeah. But usually, I'll get to it, but like, so I arrived there at 1:40, I suppose. Yeah, 1:40 around about. And we finished the interview at 4:00.
Okay.
So I did the interview for 1 hour, 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Man, you should have recorded it. It'd have been a great
It would've been a
podcast.
great podcast, yeah. Yeah, but, I mean, it was a good interview. They were super friendly and, they finished the interview in a way that I actually quite liked.
Yeah.
They finished the interview being like,
They did a sick thing. They dabbed.
they emoted. No, well, actually, first of all, I want to preface this by, in that interview, I met someone who is insane, basically.
An insane man.
Because he was sat there basically in quietly throughout the whole interview, was basically sat there quietly, because there were 3 people interviewing me. It was like a panel interview. And
like
one of them,
X Factor.
yeah, and one of them was one of the software developers, but he basically said nothing throughout the whole time.
Did he like smoke a cigarette staring out of the window? Like,
He had
really mysterious.
He had glasses on, and I could tell he was a little bit autistic, perhaps. Which I now understand, because you would have to be autistic to do what he does.
Yeah.
But then at the end, I was kind of like, so how big is the like development team at this company? Because you said, it's there's just a couple. And
he,
he's like,
he chuckled. He went,
the manager guy. So there was the manager in front of me. There was like an engineering guy who wasn't to do with development at all. I guess he was just an important guy who was there. And then there was the other software developer. But the guy sat in front of me was the main developer guy at the company.
he was the Simon Cowell of the company.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I asked him like how many software devs are there at the company. He was like, well, basically it's just me and that guy. And I was like, oh, awesome. So what do you do? And he was like, oh, well, I program all of the software that goes on to, so basically the company develops, like measurement tools and scientific instruments to like measure stuff. Basically, like measuring like
Online.
no, like physical tools that you use to like measure like scientific stuff.
So what do you do? What's the software?
Okay, so the software is important because if you just have hardware, it's not going to give you anything, right? It'll maybe do something, but
is it like running simulations and shit?
So an example is they have like a special probe which you can put into soil, and it will give you the exact composition of the soil. So all of the molecules, chemicals, everything that's in the soil, it'll tell you with like 100% precision what's in the soil.
Shit, I like it.
But you need to have software that'll analyze the data coming from the hardware, and then it will send it to like something that's connected to the internet, which will send it off to the server, which is in that building.
Send it to space.
But basically you need software on the hardware, right? Which is something that I've been interested in anyway, because that's super complicated stuff. And I was like, so what do you program it in then? Like C++? And he was like, oh, no, C++ is too... Okay, so also to preface this for if you don't understand what this means...
If you're an idiot who doesn't get it.
High level programming languages. When I say high level, that doesn't mean difficult. That actually means easy. Low level programming languages are insanely complicated, like obscenely.
Let me just say that makes 0 sense.
Yeah, I know it makes 0 sense.
No sense.
Actually, no, it makes sense in this. Low level, it means low in terms of how close it is to the processor, to the hardware, right? It's sitting right on top of the hardware.
I see.
High level means it's so like, you know, you have JavaScript, which is built on top of C#, which is built on top of C++, which is built on top of C, which is built on top of assembly. That's what it means in terms of high.
So instead of low level, it should really be called like the ground floor.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, basically. And I was like, so now also to preface it, assembly language is basically machine language. It's the language that computers communicate with. Okay. And it's like God tier programming. People that have assembly language jobs are like not human, and they'll usually be on like
it's like a Mark Zuckerberg.
They'll be on like ginormous 200k salaries because it's just obscenely complicated. And I was like, so you probably do it in C++, which is what Windows is written in, because it's a pretty low level operating system. And he was like, oh no, we mostly use C, which is underneath C++ and assembly.
Okay.
So he writes programs in assembly language. And I was like, wow, that would probably blow my mind if you showed me what you did. And the other guy laughed. And at that
point you failed.
No, the other guy laughed, and he was like, yeah, it's a whole other world. And I was like, yeah, I bet it is. And then I understood why he was quiet, because that guy was probably like insanely intelligent and probably really autistic, because that would be nuts to do anything.
It was a David, but smart.
Yeah. But yeah, the interview was really nice. They were really chatty, and the only thing that guy actually really contributed, other than impressing me by saying he writes in C in assembly, was
when you saw his massive cock.
It was when he pulled out his slug.
Slapped you around the face from the other end of the room.
You want to know how you can learn assembly?
Wow, that's really impressive. Oh, it's out of this world.
There was someone else who was supposed to be there in the interviewing me, and he was one of the other developer people, but he was like a freelancer who'd been doing most of the company's stuff up until when he's leaving, which is soon, which is why they're hiring someone, which is why they're interviewing me. And he was like, I want to ask the question, the autistic assembly language guy. And everyone was like, no, save it till the end. And I was like,
what the fuck is the question?
and then he was like, all right, can I ask the question? And he was like, okay, the most important question in this interview.
Do you vape?
No, the most important question in this interview, can you tell us a joke?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Right, yeah.
Oh, what joke did you tell them? Was it one of mine?
No.
Oh, but I've said so many good ones.
I know you have said so, but I had to be...
You should have told them the moth joke.
This is not just a test of being able to tell a good joke. This is a test of being able to read people.
Yeah.
And I feel like I read all of them perfectly. I knew what was going to make them laugh.
Oh, I can't wait.
And so I was like, okay, well, I was teaching one of my friends to program, and I did it by doing a simple CRUD program. CRUD stands for create, read, update, delete. It's just like a simple, you make a program that can create something, read stuff, update something, and delete it. And the program that I helped him make was a jokes app. It wasn't actually, I made this up on the spot.
This is all part of the joke.
Yeah, it was a joke app. And in the joke app,
you explained CRUD to these guys
like they were amateurs. So you can create a joke. There's a joke already there, but you can create a new one, you can update one, you can delete it, and there's one already existing there on the program as we're writing it. And it's, why did the chicken cross the road? To get to the other side.
Oh, but that got him good.
But you can edit. But of course, you can edit the joke. So let's edit it. Let's change it. Why did the chicken cross the playground? And of course, the answer should be edited to get to the other slide. And they found it really funny.
Oh, that's cute.
Which is good.
I think that's a nice, cute joke.
It's a good one. And then of course you can create a new joke to add it to the database, which would be I've actually forgotten, even though I told the joke today.
Did you come up with the joke on the spot?
No, I didn't come up with it on the spot. It was one that I already knew. It was along the lines of was that how? Wait, something like, which can jump higher, a kangaroo or the Empire State Building? The Empire State Building can't jump. But it wasn't worded like that. It was something to do with heights.
Was it a lot better than that?
It was a lot better.
I hope so.
That, yeah. Yeah, but then I was like, but that's a terrible joke, so we would delete it, and that's the CRUD application done. Yeah, so kind of like a programming sort of setup joke.
I would have just told them off joke.
Yeah.
I would have kept it going for 30 minutes.
And then actually, one of the other guys, well, they found it amusing, and then after that, they were like, very good. They asked me a couple more questions. They were like, do you have any questions? And I asked a couple of questions, and he was like, do you have any other questions?
Please tell them you asked. You did.
Yes.
You asked the question.
Yeah. And then I looked at the manager, and I was like, okay, can you tell me a joke?
I love that so much, dude. You're hired. I can already tell you're hired.
Well, even if I'm not hired, we all had a great time.
Yeah, but like, so if this was like a vibe check interview, if you asked them to tell you a joke, you're hired, man. 100%.
And then the guy was like, "Oh shit!" They all chuckled and laughed. And the guy was like, "Okay, well," and he was
the
like,
guy got really serious and was like, "This is a really professional interview." How dare you ask me that? Security.
It's got this fucking spray me in the face and drag me out.
It's got this piece of shit out of my office.
No, but actually, the development manager guy was like, "No, I haven't got one." And then the engineering manager was like, "Come on, you've got kids. You should know some jokes that you tell your kids." And he's like, "Okay, no, I've got a good one actually that my kids find hilarious. They find this one hilarious." And he was like, "Okay, what's black, white, and red all over?" I think something like that. And I was like, "A dead penguin," which actually was a really good guess because it made his joke even funnier.
Okay.
Because then he said, "No, a penguin." Oh, I can't remember.
A penguin with his arse on fire.
No. He was like, "No, a penguin that's blushing, smiling, and rolling down the hill."
Oh.
Which was funny against my
lovely,
juxtaposed dead penguin.
But here's the thing, because it was a joke that his kids loved, you shouldn't have laughed. You should have been like, "Well, I'm a lot smarter than your kids."
And then everyone told a joke, and then he was like, "Okay, you can tell one then." And the other guy was like, "Okay," and he told the most racist, disgusting joke. He told the most actually, that'd be hilarious. Imagine if I told the most vile and disgusting racist
You
joke.
told a racist, sexist rape joke to them.
And then the guy was like, okay. Why did the chicken cross the road? To get to the other side. But why did the hedgehog cross the road?
Why?
Because he was sellotaped
To the chicken.
Okay. That was the joke, which I was like, okay, that's funny. And then the autism, he couldn't tell the joke, so he was just like, "No, I ain't got one."
He couldn't tell one because he had the racist.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that's all he knew.
Yeah. No,
But the autism one asked you the question. That's bullshit. You should have a joke prepared, just in case.
No. See, the real reason why he didn't give one is because his IQ and intellect is so high. Yeah. You can only laugh at something when it baffles you.
He is unbaffable.
He understands every single intricate aspect of this universe.
I like the idea that I'd tell him like the moth joke and he'd just sit there like, "Yeah, that's interesting." You know, I have a theory about moths.
Yeah. But yeah, no, overall, really good interview.
You tell him, why did Mario break up with Princess Peach? What did Mario say when he broke up with Princess Peach? He said, "It's not you, it's me, Mario." And he's like, "Wow. That's insightful."
That's really deep and profound.
That's really deep.
Yeah.
Can I buy the rights?
But yeah, no, overall, really good. They were really friendly guys, and they did the interview in a really professional manner. And yeah, Delta T devices. If you have any farming or scientific equipment that you need to purchase, I highly recommend them. They're a very talented team of...
Yeah, well, you haven't named them, and you shouldn't, just in case you don't get the job.
What, the company or the people?
The company.
You can name the company.
Yeah, what if you don't get the job? That's going to be awkward.
Not really.
You're going to have to listen back to this episode in the future being like, "Oh, man."
I've applied and done interviews for probably like 100 jobs.
Yeah, but which ones do you want the most? Do you want this one the most?
See, I think it's a bad idea to want any of the jobs because the way that I see it.
No, don't
the way
explain
that
it. You're right. You are right. You should.
But the way you should always see a job interview, factually, logically, you should always see it this way. No matter how good you are, no matter how qualified you are for a job, you should see it as a lottery because you do not know who else has applied for this job. For all you know, the best, most like perfect candidate has applied for this job.
Barack Obama might have applied for this
job.
Or
someone who's just a little bit better than you could have applied for this job. You don't know. It's always a gamble. So the only thing that you can do is enjoy the interview and just try your best.
Someone who spells his name with a K, so it's Hektor.
Yeah.
At which point they're like, wow, that's cool.
That's profound. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. You're way better than the other Hector.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that's the best way of viewing it. There's no point like getting your hopes up on a job, because even if you think you're perfect for the job role, there could literally just be someone else that is more perfect for it, and you don't know that. So there's no point.
I mean, it also like I had my hope. I think I'm not going to name it, but I had my hopes up on a job. But that was because they strung me along for like 2 months.
Yeah.
And I went through 4 different stages.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know, one interview, sure, but once you start progressing, you get more and more further. It's like, at some point, you reach the level of, like, I must have this. They've wasted so much of my time.
Yeah. Actually, that's another thing that I liked about this company that was interviewing me. So after the interview, they described the next stages. So the next stages are, you'll have another interview that's kind of like an HR interview to make sure you fit in with the team. And I was like, oh, because that typically, if you get that interview, you've got the job.
Yeah.
That's just them verifying that you're
HR
worthy. And I was surprised. I was like, so in my head, I was like, so this is the only interview, because all of the other ones that I did, like the one I did before, there was a screening interview with their in-house recruiter, and then there was a first stage interview with their senior engineering manager, like development manager, which I passed, and then there was a dev test, and after that there was going to be a panel interview, and after that there was going to be the HR interview. So there would have been 5 fucking interviews, like throughout the whole process. This company, 2 interviews.
I think you'll win. I do.
No.
Don't get your hopes up. Yeah. I think you. I've got my hopes up for you.
Okay. Yeah. But and I was shocked that they didn't do a technical interview, because for this sort of job, that's the sort of thing that you.
Well, you know why they didn't? Because I saw your CV.
Oh yeah.
That I helped you rank.
Oh
right?
yeah.
And they were like, "Holy shit, this guy knows scat or whatever the fuck it was called."
It wasn't scat. Scrum.
Scrum.
Yeah, it was Scrum. Actually, they did ask about Agile and Scrum.
Oh my god, they actually did.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
that's great. Because there's a thing called Scrum on his CV. That's apparently a thing. No. And he asked me to read his CV, and I was like, "What the fuck is Scrum?" Because to me, it sounds like a dog food brand. Like, "Oi, boy, come and get your Scrum." Like,
well, it sounds like something that. Oh, what's it? The stuff that you put on your fishing line to get fishes.
Yeah, it sounds like bait. Like,
yeah.
Oh, he ain't got enough Scrum on the end of that pole. But then he was like, "No, you have to be really smart to understand Scrum." I was like, "Oh," he was like, "You wouldn't get it, Bradley."
I'm better than you.
Yeah. I'm better than you are, Bradley. And I was
but they did talk about that in the interview. But yeah, overall very good. And I guess I'll see. But yeah, that was nice that I didn't have to do a technical interview, because actually, imagine this. Imagine you've applied for a script writing job, and you do your first stage interview. It's kind of like a soft skills interview where they talk to you, check your personality, and then second stage interview, they're like, "Right, Bradley, what we want you to do is we want you to write a first page of this script, and we're going to watch you write it." Like, do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
That shit is fucking brutal.
Yeah.
And it always, I feel like in this interview, I was very confident, and usually I'm very confident, but for some reason, writing code, like, while you're being watched by 3 people just watching you is like,
and they're occasionally coughing, occasionally they're being like,
yeah,
and you're like, "Oh my god."
Yeah, it's like nerve crushing. That fucking crushes my nerves. And I made in the dev test that I did do for the last interview, I made lots of mistakes, which after looking back on it, after the interview finished, I was like, "Holy shit, I made so many mistakes."
Yeah.
Like,
holy shit, I did. All of it was wrong.
Holy shit!
I did the opposite of what he asked.
I got to press save. Oh no! Yeah.
Oh my god, my keyboard wasn't plugged in.
Actually, to be fair, no, I didn't make loads of mistakes, but
you made 2 big ones.
No, I didn't make loads of mistakes. But obviously, there must have been someone better, because.
It was me.
Yeah, you were better. They hired you for that job.
They hired me.
Yeah.
And I turned it down.
You were just doing it to fuck.
Yeah, I just wanted to prove I was better than you.
Exactly, yeah.
Mission successful.
Yeah. But hopefully I keep getting more and more interviews. And our good friend Sammy, don't know if you want to believe that.
No, I'm sure Sammy's fine with that.
Our good friend Sammy is also starting to apply for job roles into similar sort of fashion, similar sort of industry. And yeah, it's pretty tough because 2 years ago, I don't know what it is in the UK, but in America, there were 450,000 tech jobs, coding jobs, doing coding.
I mean, it must be less. We're a much smaller country.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's geography, you know. That's using your brain. That's logic, you know.
But now, today, in America, there are
only 10.
There's 150,000.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, like approximately 300,000 people in the tech industry lost their jobs. So I can only assume that it's similar.
And that was just today.
Today,
they all lost their jobs.
One day.
Oh my fucking god.
Basically, the main reason why it happened is companies like Twitter, Netflix, Google, Facebook, you know, the big guys, the big tech companies.
It happens all the time with video game companies too.
Really?
I'm seeing it constantly. Like just the other week, Telltale, if you remember Telltale, they released Walking Dead and shit.
Yeah.
They let go a bunch of stuff and they were like, don't worry, the games that are still in production will still happen. But it's like,
just fired.
What happened? People. What happened then? Why is it still in production? Save some money.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, but like, yeah, all of those people got fired essentially because these big tech companies assumed that they were going to keep on growing, so they hired shit tons of people, and then they stopped growing because COVID ended, and then they fired all of the people that they hired, basically. So now there's like 300,000 people floating around that have Google on their CV or Facebook on their CV, and those are the people that people like me and Sammy have got to compete with, which is why getting a job is going to be fucking hard.
No, it's obvious what you do then. You just put it on your CV.
That's what you do, actually. What
just
are they
lie.
Do? Yeah, what are they going to fucking do?
They're going to call Google.
That's such a good point. Yeah, they're going to call Google. That's such a good point.
Hello, Facebook. Did Hector Campbell work there?
That's actually a really good point.
Yeah, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, unironically, fucking just do it. What are they going to do?
I should, yeah. You know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to add that to my CV that I worked at Google. Yeah. Can you get sued for doing that?
Not sued, but if they find out, you know.
Lose your job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there's this thing in the show Community. The main character, Jeff, pretended to be a lawyer for ages. Well, he was a lawyer for ages, but then they find out that he didn't actually pass his bar exam. So they just fired him. He wasn't sued for millions of dollars. Every case he's ever done, reviewed and looked at. Yeah. No, they were just like, okay, go and get your bar exam. You're not a lawyer anymore. Yeah. That's what would happen. They'd be like, okay, go and work at Google now. Yeah. You must go and work at Google to return, you know.
To be fair, actually, the only thing that I have lied about blatantly on my CV, which they could very easily find out if I'm lying because I haven't checked it, is on my CV, I've put that my address is a random address in London, Bartholomew Close, which is a random address in central London. And I did that purely
They're going to send mail to that address at some point.
And I did that simply because I know that if they see I live in London, all of the London jobs and like those sort of jobs, they're going to like put me up first.
But even then, like, do we still have that office?
We do, yeah.
You could have said it as that.
No, because then they could look at it and see that it's an office.
Oh, you could have said it as like Matt's house.
But the problem is, what they could do is they could be like, "Oh, you live in central London. Whereabouts?"
I mean, it can't. Is it actually a completely random address?
It's yeah.
Could you imagine? I want you to just picture this.
There.
Yeah. The CV comes up on the desk. Oh, interesting.
He lives next door to me.
12 Bartholomew. That's my house. I live there. What the fuck is happening? Funny. He calls you like, excuse me. You're using my address in your CV.
Oh, that's fucking hilarious.
Because that's even funnier, because at that point he's not thinking, wow, what a random coincidence. He's thinking, this guy knows my address.
He's blackmailing me.
Oh my god, they found me.
Actually, no. See, I know that won't happen because the way I found that address was quite clever. I went on to Rightmove.
Oh.
And I found a house that was for sale, like a really expensive house.
In that case, they find your CV, and then they called hey, Tony, you know that house you were showing me the other day? There's already someone living there, you mug. What are you doing? You're bad at your job, Tony.
Yeah. But yeah.
I've also had some developments in the last 2 months.
Could it possibly be job developments?
Well, I've had 2. One is a job development. The other one, which I want to quickly talk about, is that I got COVID.
Oh, yeah.
For the first time.
Yeah, that's retro.
And it hit me like a sack of shit.
Yeah.
It's, well, I mean, I won't bring up because the job one can take a while. So I'll just talk about this quick. Yeah, I got COVID. It was brutal. The worst thing that happened from the COVID, and I've already discussed this with you, is that on the first night I had COVID, I don't know if it was to do with the COVID, like directly, or if it was just because I got a bit stressed when I found out. I wasn't scared. I didn't think I was going to die. But I was like, man, I'm sick. I don't need this. I just started a job. I'm going to have to stay off if I feel rough. And I did. I felt like a Red War arsehole. I felt like an arsehole that I just like shut out a brick and was just healing, you know. But on the first night, I had sleep paralysis. That fucked me.
Yeah.
I that fucked me hard. I was scared to go to sleep for like 4 days. I literally positioned the pillow and I was only sleeping on my side because I heard that helped. That scared the shit out of me. Yeah. And it's even worse because not only did I have sleep paralysis, but again, because of the COVID, I could not breathe.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there on my back.
That's probably what caused it. Because you probably, like, maybe for a short period of time while you were in REM sleep, you couldn't breathe, and so you woke up while in the middle of REM sleep. You've still got that fucking chemical running around your brain, and yet you're awake.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But because it was, I mean, I don't know if this is what it was like for your sleep paralysis, but for me, when I woke up, I was both awake and still in the dream.
Yeah.
So I remember the dream really clearly. The dream was, and again, also my dreams have gotten so fucking weird lately. I want to say like since the COVID. I told you about the dream a couple of days ago. I've had weird dreams still since. Not as weird as that. I'm never going to forget that dream because of how helpless and terrified I felt.
So have I actually. I'll tell you about a dream that I had.
But the dream I had during the sleep paralysis was that there was like hundreds of us in a room and we were all just walking into each other and falling over. And we couldn't stop. There was no doors. Like, we were all looking for a way out. But every time we bumped into each other, we were like falling on our backs like turtles and trying to get up. And then at some point I wake up, I'm on my back. And as I'm trying to sit up in real life, I can see myself in the dream trying to sit up and failing. And again, I'm running out of breath. Every time I'm trying to sit up, I'm getting more and more annoyed and scared. And during the time it happened, I didn't realise what was happening. As soon as it finished, I understood. But during the time it happened, my first thought was, okay, this is how I die. This is it. Man, I thought it'd be so much cooler than this. I'm going to die in bed on my first night of COVID. Like a bitch. Yeah. But then I snapped out of it. It was like 2 a.m. I knew my sister would be awake, so I messaged my sister. I just messaged her, help me. And then I just burst into tears. And she came in like, what's wrong? And I was like, I don't know. Like, awful experience. I'm laughing about it now, but it hurt.
That shit will fuck you up. That's pretty much the same as how it is for me.
But I have a theory that, because I didn't see anything, but I think if I did see something, if I saw like a monster, I think I would have clicked before I woke up. This isn't real. Because not seeing anything kind of fucked me up. Because I'm a logical guy. If I wake up and I see the Hat Man standing in the corner, I'm not going to think, oh my god, the Hat Man's real. I truly believe that. I might do because I'm asleep and I'm delusional. But I truly believe I'd be like, oh, it's a nightmare. Got it. Because that happens a lot. You know, that happened with the weird dream I had a couple of days ago I told you about. It ended because I was like, oh, this bleach didn't work in my mum's eyes. It's a dream. It has to be. She would react. Surely, you know. Yeah. So I don't know. I almost wish I'd seen something, but at the same time I don't, because it was bad enough. Imagine if that was all happening, I glance to my right and I see the Hat Man standing in the corner. Like, what the fuck? But yeah, I suffered, I got it on Saturday, I suffered till Wednesday. I missed a week off work. I could have gone in, they were like, you know, come in as soon as you feel better. I felt better on Wednesday, but what I've got now is a particularly active job, so I messaged my rep being like, look, I feel better, but I'm not going to come in because I'm physically exhausted. I felt like I'd been thrown down a flight of stairs. Like, I was in so much pain. My face really hurt, my legs hurt. I was like, I will not, the exact words I used, because I wanted to be professional, I wasn't going to be like, no, I feel like a sack of shit. I was like, if I was to come in, I wouldn't be at my best.
Yeah.
Which is very true. Yeah. Because imagine there's a fight breaking out amongst the kids. Bradley, I can't. I can't move.
One of the kids kicks you in the shin and you collapse to the floor.
I pass out. I wake up and
Then you'll beat the shit out of you in the playground by a bunch of retarded kids.
Oh, God. Hello, Future Bradley here. I just wanted to pop in here and let you know that in this next section, there's going to be some editing things. Essentially, what I did is I told the story about my new job, and I mentioned a lot of names that I shouldn't have. Because sometimes you forget, you know. I was having a great conversation with my best friend. I forgot, essentially, that it was all being recorded. So what I'm going to do, instead of having to censor them all, and there being loads of beeps, is I'm going to go through and re-record some lines, changing the names. I'm going to change them all to Simpsons character names too. Just to extra prove that there's, you know, no real names in there. But if it sounds a bit different suddenly, if it sounds like this, essentially, this is how I'm going to be recording it, just know that's why. But otherwise, it's going to be the same content said. But yeah, thank you. Hope you're enjoying the episode so far. In a bit. Talking of the kids, though, yeah, let me actually break down what my new job is. I am a teaching assistant at a school for special needs kids.
Which has unlimited comedic potential.
Unlimited comedic potential, but also a lot of drama, a lot of sadness, you know. I might as well just tell the story.
Yeah.
Because I've come up with like a little 5-minute routine to describe my first week there.
Yeah.
Because I'll never forget it. Particularly my first day. Hector's heard this before, but I'm going to tell it for the audience. So, my first day, Tuesday the 5th of September, I come into the class. Now, a bit of background. I had my interview a couple of weeks prior, and I told my rep, my rep was like, so what experience do you have? And I was like, well, I'm on the spectrum myself. I wasn't diagnosed. By the way, this is true, but it's also a lie. I was like, I wasn't diagnosed till I was 15, and by that point I'd grown so accustomed to ordinary school life that I was afraid to move into any classes and get the help that I could have used. It's true that I'm on the spectrum. I never needed any help. I'm good. I'm really good. I'm smart. I'm functional. But then I was like, and I've got a little brother who's on the spectrum, and sometimes I help with his schoolwork after school. Again, half true, half lie. He's on the spectrum. I don't help him with anything. But I made it clear that my background was in autism. So I'm going on my first day, and I'm like, okay, what class am I in? And I go, well, you're in Fit Zebra. Fun fact about this school, I'm not going to name the school obviously, fun fact about this school, all the classes are named after animals. First clue. First red flag I should have picked up on, but I was just like, oh, that's cute.
Also, just to preface, when Bradley, it's because I gave Bradley a reference to this.
You did.
To this place,
and I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I gave good reference. I was like, yes, I can approve that you know Bradley will be good, because what I was picturing was that you'd be going to a normal school, like a normal secondary school, but every normal secondary school has like a special ed department.
Has access, yeah.
Right, yeah. So that's what I pictured this as being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did I. And that makes this first day worse, because I walk in and I'm like, okay, what class am I in? And they go, okay, you're in Fitz Zebra. And I was like, okay, take me to there. I don't know my way around, I'll get lost. Please take me to this class. So I walk in, the teacher's there, her name's Lucy, lovely woman. And she's like, okay, the kids don't come until 9. By the way, I've got good hours. I work from 8:30 to 3:30, but the kids don't get until 9 and the kids start going home at 3. I'm only there for I'm there for 7 hours, but I only work for about 6. That's also not including my lunch break.
No.
So I'm actually only working for about 5 hours, 20 minutes every day.
That's pretty good.
That's great,
yeah.
You know. But I walk in and she's like, okay, so let me tell you a bit about the kids. In this class, there's 4 of them. Red flag number 2. It's a class with 4 kids. I was like, okay, tell me about these kids. I won't go into too much detail on the podcast, but here's some quick fun facts about the kids. Completely different age ranges. One was 7, 8-ish. One was 16, the other 2 were 18. 1 boy, 3 girls. 3 of them wheelchair bound. 1 of them not wheelchair bound, but not great on his feet. I'll give him this. Fast little fucker. Really quick guy. But not great. He had to wear a helmet because he will fall. He will bump into things and fall. I know he's fast, by the way, because I had to follow him around the playground. And man, I was breaking a sweat. I was like, man, Homer, please, please calm down. Work with me here, man. And he also had this thing where they were like, don't let Homer fall over. Because he fell over a couple of months ago and he broke his leg. And so if he falls now, if it is bad enough of a fall, he's going to assume he broke his leg and he will not move. And I was like, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. Also, really hairy guy. I'll explain that. But yeah, and the other three completely wheelchair bound. One of them, the oldest, one of the 18-year-old girls, to put it bluntly, complete vegetable. Could only move her eyes and her head would fall and you'd have to push it back up throughout the day.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So, I was like, okay, wow. You know, I didn't say wow, but I was thinking in my head, okay, wow. So, this isn't autism. This is bad. This is bad for me. Let's see how it goes. So the kids come in, and don't get me wrong, and I will say this about all the kids I've met there. I will say this about most of the kids I've met there. They're great kids, you know? Like, they really are. A lot of the kids I've met at this school are really great. Now, don't get me wrong, there were a couple of little bastards there. They really are, and I'll get into it. I'll get into it. But, most of them are really great. And yeah, I say the kids in Fitz-Zebra were great, but here's what you got to understand about these kids. And this is what especially disheartened me. These aren't kids with personalities. You can't really have a personality. Oh yeah, all of them are non-verbal. Apart from two things. So at one point, the youngest one, suddenly just went, toot toot, and all of the teachers went toot toot back, so I assume that's like a catchphrase. And the boy, Homer, he would make the noise, the very stereotypical noise. I'm going to repeat the noise, and you'll see why. It's needed for context. It's not offensive because it's fact. And by the way, any jokes I make, you got to understand, listeners, and Hector, you've got to understand, the kids aren't the butt of these jokes. It's my reaction to the kids that are the butt of the joke. I'm the butt of the joke. Yeah. I'm just saying facts, and the joke is how I felt. But his noise was, And the reason that's important is because every time he went, one of the teachers would, back. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, that's awful. You're erring him to his face. But then I decided to justify that to myself because I was like, okay, maybe they think that's the best way of communicating with him. Still a bit fucked up, but whatever, you know. I've never erred back. That's all I can say. I'm morally superior.
When you say, do you mean he goes, or do you mean he goes, The
second one. Okay. But they would go, back. Again, at first I was like, this feels really morally wrong. But yeah, and then I was like, okay, so I'm a teaching assistant. What are we teaching them? And they were like, here's the plan today. First, we're going to have something called music and muscles. And I was like, okay, what the fuck is that? I found out the hard way. And then they were like, okay, and then obviously it's lunchtime and break time. And then we're going to end with art. And I was like, this all sounds okay. Let's do it. Whatever. Music and muscle. So they're all laid out on a fucking yoga mat. I had the 16-year-old Homer, who again is the only one not wheelchair bound, which made it extra hard because occasionally he would try and get up. And to put it bluntly, you'd have to kind of push him down. You'd have to be like, no, Homer, fucking holding him down. No, Homer, we're doing music and muscles. And he's going, back.
And he's going, yeah.
And you're like, Homer, it's okay. But what music and muscles is that they were playing songs. For example, they played Hello by Adele and the very famous Shakira song.
Yeah.
And you would have to, make them do it. So with Hello, you were holding up their arms and making them wave.
Well,
now,
hello,
yeah,
it's me.
Exactly. Now, reminder, they played the Shakira Hips Don't Lie song. So on my first day at this school, I was holding down a disabled 16-year-old boy and manually shaking his hips.
Oh my God, that's fucking hilarious.
I was so in over my head. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know. But then break time came. Fun fact about me, because of my position on the spectrum, I have a weird thing about food. And I had to feed these guys, because obviously you have to feed them. They will starve to death if you don't feed them. And the entire time I was holding back vomit. Because believe it or not, heavily disabled kids, not great eaters. They dribble. They get the food places, you know? But then we go out for break. I'm running after Homer because he's about to smash into a fucking wall. And we come back in and they're like, okay, toilet time. And I was like, oh my fucking god. I had completely forgotten that this would be an aspect of it. Of course, they're all in nappies. Of course they are. I can't believe I didn't think about that. Yeah, of course they're all in nappies. What else would they do? You think, oh, but I need the toilet here. No, that's not going to happen. So, here's another thing. Lucy, the main teacher, she thought that I was going to be a permanent resident of this class. And she told me that. Which didn't help that day. But she was like, okay, Homer needs a toilet. Have you? Will you? I was like, no. I was like, no, not only have I never changed the nappy of a fully grown 16-year-old boy, I've never changed any nappies. And she was like, okay, then, why don't you come in and I'll show you the ropes? And I was like, fucking, okay. What was I supposed to, no? Was I supposed to go like, no? Ew. What was I actually supposed to say? So I go in. Luckily, he had only done a wee. There's a lot of shit in this school. You have to call them BMs. You can't go, this one's done a shit. You have to be like, he's done a BM, bowel movement. Luckily, it was only a wee. And that is how I know that this is a really hairy young man, unfortunately.
Oh my God.
And she was like, well, we'll get you kind of comfortable with it. And eventually, you know, when you're ready, you'll be able to handle it on your own. I mean, obviously, you'd only be able to do Homer. You're not able to do any of the girls. Which I was like, well, yeah. But I'm also not going to do Homer. I'm not going to be able to do any of this. This is all too much. I didn't say that. I said, when I'm ready. Because I knew I'd never be ready. And then we come out. We did something else. I don't remember what. It probably isn't important. We ended in art. Now, I want to remind you and the audience. One of these girls is a vegetable who can't move anything. The other two are really wheelchair bound. None of these guys are Vincent van Gogh. So what art is we would get the paint and we would pour it into their hands and we were basically just kind of throwing their hands into pieces of paper. Oh no, I remember the second one now. It is actually quite funny. I'm going to bring it up. We were reading to them. Now, one of the 18-year-old girls, who isn't a vegetable, still wheelchair bound, but her name's Marge. Again, seemed like a good, great girl. I was reading to her at some point, and I was reading. By the way, we're not reading Shakespeare and fucking Stephen King. I was reading a book called Come Along Daisy, which is about a little duckling called Daisy who lost his mum.
Yeah.
And halfway through reading to her. And again, she's in the wheelchair. I've barely seen her do anything, but she just starts wheeling herself away. And I look at Lucy and I'm like, she's wheeling away, and Lucy just goes, oh yeah, she's done. She doesn't want to hear anymore. And I was like, that's fair. I don't either. I don't.
But fuck your story.
Yeah, she basically went, fuck you, and left. But then we did art and blah, 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 splattered everywhere. I took my shirt off. I was wearing a t-shirt underneath because I don't want to get paint on my lovely shirts. And that was the end of the day. And I remember I went home and Mum was like, how was your day today, Bradley? How was the first day of your job? I didn't cry, but I remember saying, well, I'm not a teaching assistant. Again, I thought this would be it for the rest of it. And I want to, by the way, say, audience, I was willing to do that. I didn't enjoy this first day, but Papa needs his bread. Okay, I was willing to stick it out until I needed to, But I was like, I'm not really a teaching assistant. There's no teaching in that class. There is only caring. I was like, I am a carer. I am basically working at an old person's home. But the old people all have Benjamin Button disorder.
All of the rooms have like proper hospital setups in them.
Yes. So not all of the rooms I've discovered. Only their room and the room with like the young kids. Basically the ones who are less functional. But yeah, they all have offshoot rooms that have like full hospital beds, sanitisation departments.
A defibrillator.
Yes, and hoists, so you can get them out of the wheelchair and shit. But yeah, no, there's like serious medical equipment there, and I'm trained in none of it. I want to repeat that, by the way. This wasn't just my first day at the school. This was my first day as a teaching assistant. I've never done any of this before, and I was scared. But I was like, yeah, I'm more like a carer. And I remember my mum, she said something really funny. She was like, she heard about all this, and she was like, oh, I've told all my friends you're a teacher. And I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, I said you're an English teacher. And I was like, what, like not even an assistant, an actual teacher? She was like, yeah. And I was like, where the fuck did you get that from? That takes years of training and career development. Of course I'm not a teacher. Jesus Christ. I think I could walk in on my first day as a teacher, an actual teacher. I was like, Jesus, Mum. But she was like, oh man, what are you going to do? You're going to quit, right? And I was like, no. But I walk in on my second day. Because again, I had an expectation in mind, and that wasn't it. That was completely out of unexpected. I thought that was it. I walk in on my second day, and luckily, it was exactly what I was expected. I was in a new class called Angelfish. Lovely class. I actually really enjoyed this class. I put it in my top 3 classes there. I've been in a lot of the classes now, by the way. I've been in like fucking 10 of them. I put it in my top 3. And just great kids. They really are. And they're older kids. They're a lot more functional. These are kids, and this is kind of what I wanted when I came into this job. This was the thing that made me be like, this could be fun. Because I also think a job should be fun. These were kids that you could build a rapport with, have actual conversation with, get to know, get little jokes in, kind of thing. Like one of these kids, his name's Bart. I'll pass him the hallway now, and he'll be like, yo, dab me up, Bradley. And I'm thinking in my head, there's a reason you're here. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, you know, sure, of course I'll dab you up. But they're good kids. They really are. Yeah. And I was like, I came back that second day being like, okay, this is something I can do. This is fun. Luckily, because I had the rest of my week, and my third class, I went to a class called Trinity, who are by far my favourite class. I really like Trinity. They're like the oldest ones. They're like 15, 16. All of them great. I say all of them. So, the only story I have about Trinity is there's this one boy called Nelson. Now, again, I walk in at 8:30. The kids don't come in till 9. I meet Trudy. Lovely. Honestly, she might be my favourite. She might be my favourite woman who works there. She's a fellow teacher. She's the teacher of the class. And she was like, okay, let me talk you through some of the kids. And she's showing me the seat. She goes, this is Lisa. She's really into World War II. Well, she is really into World War II. It's quite funny. She was like, that's where Rod and Todd sit. They're twins. Todd wears a cap, and that's the only way you'll be able to tell who's who. And I was like, okay, that's really cool. This is Jimbo. He's a little boy with Down syndrome. He's non-verbal. I love Jimbo. He's great. He's non-verbal, but he communicates in 2 ways. By nodding and shaking his head, and smiling. So you'll go over and be like, have you finished your work, Jimbo? And the audience won't see this, but you will, Hector. And he'll look up with you with the cheesiest grin, and he'll be like... and it warms your heart. But then she points to a desk in the corner, and she goes, and that's Nelson's desk. Now, I'm going to let you know now. Don't touch anything on Nelson's desk. Don't even put anything on Nelson's desk. In fact, try not to speak to Nelson. You can say some general stuff, but don't give any direct orders. If anything needs doing with Nelson, just let me know and I'll take care of it. And I was like, okay, I have to ask, how comes? What's Nelson's deal? And she goes, well, the thing about Nelson is he is built like a brick shit house. Her actual words. She goes, Nelson's built like a brick shit house.
Wait, really?
Yes. No, her actual... Oh, the kids weren't there. Of course we swear. She went, Nelson's built like a brick shit house. And he will give you a warning. Don't get me wrong. You'll get one warning. But after that warning, he will not hesitate to deck you. And then she goes, like a couple of months ago, because this was September, we had the 6 months break. She was like, so just before the break, I accidentally put a bit of paper on his desk. Muscle memory, I just forgot. He'd given me the warning before. And when I say one warning, I mean forever. You get the one, not every day. You get the one warning and from then he's out, you know.
the fuck?
Because she was like, I put a bit of paper on his desk, and he body slammed me, wrestler style, and dislocated my shoulder. And I was like, fucking hell, like, holy shit. And she was...
How is he not, like, juvenile prison?
Well, because that's what this school is for. There are, again, I've been bitten twice, audience. Some of these kids don't have any control. Here's why Nelson's still a good kid in my book. Because she was like, so he body slammed me just before the term, and obviously 6 months passed, and he comes in on Tuesday, and the first thing he says to me is, I'm really sorry I hurt you, Trudy. Which means that he'd been thinking about that for 6 months. For 6 months, I'd been going through his head that he had hurt his teacher. And the very first thing he does when he comes in is apologise. And that's the thing. He gives the one warning, but he's not going to go straight from 0 to 100 unless you get into his personal space. Like, I saw him giving minor warnings throughout the thing. Mostly, you're being too loud. Can you please be a bit quieter? And at that point, you kind of, oh, come on, let's go stand on this side of the room, kind of thing. But the warning thing's mainly for going and touching his shit. Mm. Don't do that. Just don't. But for the other little grievances, he is a bit more lenient. Can you please stop talking? Stop talking. Stop it. Don't do that. Shut the fuck up. But yeah, no, in my book, I mean, he's got his rules. I can follow his rules. I'm good with him.
See, here's my question. How is someone like that going to make it in the real world without going to prison?
Oh, I promise you, you're going to ask that question a lot if you go to this school.
Really?
For example, so on my final day, I was put into a class called Raccoons. This is in my top 3 too. I put this as like my second favourite class. These are the really young kids, like 4 to 6. Great little class. I'm going to tell you about some of the kids in this class, because this is also my most common class. I'm in this class every Monday, Wednesday and Friday. Which at first, I will admit, I wasn't that happy with. I had to grow to like these kids. Mm. I really did. So, here are some of the students there. Actually, okay, now, I'll tell you this first, and this is going to be a bit personal, audience. So there's a kid in the class called Homer. He's 6 years old, little blonde boy. Like the other Homer, he's non-verbal and he makes the noise. He also does this thing where he will look past you. Like, he doesn't really look at you. Like, if Hector, you mean you see what I'm doing right now. This is kind of what he's like, always.
Yeah.
And Homer, he's a good kid. I've gotten used to it. But on that first day, he really was reminding me of my little brother. Mm. He looks a lot like him to me.
Yeah.
And again, my little brother's on the spectrum, but he's really functional. He can talk, he can make eye contact, So to see a kid who looks a lot like him, who you can't have a conversation with, who will look past you, who will kind of treat you like you don't exist, it was almost like a grim reminder of what could have been. Mm. And I will be honest, that really fucked me up. I spent a lot of that day struggling to look at Homer. And the first day you might think would be the one where this happens, but it was on that last day that I left school and I had a cry. Yeah. Like, I broke into fucking tears because that took a lot out of me. I remember I actually came home and I spent a good couple of hours with. Like, I gave him a hug when I got in. I was like, I fucking love you, right, mate? Like, you're I fucking love you, bro. And we sat in the garden and we just had a big conversation. Because I needed it. I needed a reminder of that, because it really did fuck me up. But I've gotten used to it since. And again, he's a really good kid. There's also a kid in the class called Lenny. And while he doesn't look like my little brother, he's the most like him. In my opinion, Lenny doesn't belong there. I actually think with enough support, he would be able to do normal school. And I almost don't like the fact that he is there, because it means he's never going to get to grow his mask. But his main thing, honestly, he's definitely autistic, don't get me wrong. His main thing is that he struggles with taking turns. He wants to kind of get stuck in. He's got a ton of energy. He's an escape artist too. You have to guard the doors and shit. And he has a lot of trouble speaking. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On, that's kind of how he speaks.
Yeah.
But I really do. He's 100% the most functional kid in that class. But I hate the fact that he's there, because I do think with enough support he would absolutely be fine. Like he's always trying to make friends, and the other kids are too non-functional to be able to do so.
Yeah.
So in the playground, he's called 1-to-1 because again he's an escape artist. So when we're out, someone has to be with him at all times, and it's always me. Yeah. Not only because I'm the youngest and I'm the youngest person who works there, I'm quick on my feet, I can catch up, but also because I think they know, because Lenny really likes me. He's learnt my name.
That's it, yeah.
And whenever I enter the room, on the first, at the beginning of the school day, or if I come in halfway through the day or whatever, he'll go, "There you are," and I'm like, "Here I am."
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they know that Lenny really likes me, and that me hanging out with him at lunch and break is the best thing he's going to get to having like a proper friend during that time. You know?
I guess that's difficult when a kid is too on the border between needing to be in a special school and not being well suited enough to be in a normal school.
Yeah.
Because then, spending all of his time. I mean, I suppose not necessarily, but in my opinion, a kid spending all of their time in a special school surrounded by kids that are acting like that.
Again, I mean, alright, let me talk about masking for a sec. So again, I went to very ordinary school, wasn't diagnosed till I was 15, and even when I was diagnosed, I had my mask already. And what the mask is the capability of knowing the right response. It's not even feeling it, but just knowing what the right thing to say or do is. In other words, you've got the mask of a normal person on.
Well, see, that's my opinion on socializing is that it is something that you have to learn. Maybe, perhaps some people and some kids are able to have it by default. But at the end of the day, socializing is a skill. If anyone is to take the most sociable person that you know, social butterfly, right?
Yeah. You're right.
Take the most sociable person you know, social butterfly. Now, let's go back in time, 20 years, put them in a special ed school surrounded by autistic people and insane children, and then let them be in that school all the way up until they're 18, pull them out of the school. Are they still a social butterfly? No. Now they are autistic.
But it's not even, I think the best example I can give, so a girl in Trinity, her name's Lisa, she's the one who's really into World War II. I had an interaction with her that I think really sums up the importance of a mask. So, she was on her laptop at some point playing music a bit too loud. I went up and I was like, "Can you turn it down a bit?" She's playing "Living on a Prayer," and she goes, "This is my favourite song," and I went, "Oh, cool. Do you want to know what my favourite song is?" And she went, "No." And in my mind, I was like, "Yeah, of course you don't. Why the fuck did I even ask?"
Yeah.
But that's the thing. That's the importance of the mask. I don't care either. But if someone said it, "Oh, do you want to know what my favourite song is?" I know the right thing to say is, "Yeah, sure."
Yeah.
Like if someone comes in and they're like, "Oh, I got a new haircut. How does it look? Do I look good?" I will just say yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be like, "Yeah, let's go."
Well, so you have to learn how people work.
Exactly.
It's not just something you can magically. Well, maybe some people do just magically know it, but you have to learn how people work.
Exactly.
How you have to learn how social skills work.
Yeah. And that's the sort of thing I learned at school. Like at some point, I've got friends. I've got friends at school. And at some point, they probably, I probably had that exact exchange. "Oh, I got a new haircut. How does it look?" "Oh, a bit shit." And I probably saw, or they told me that I hurt their feelings. Yeah. So I know that's not the right thing to do. At this school, like my cousin, I've got a cousin who's on the spectrum, really on the spectrum, and she's a great example because she was pulled out of school and became homeschooled. Zero mask. Zero capability of a mask. Nothing there.
See, but then I guess it's kind of like, then you're battling with, okay, yes, school is a good environment, is the best environment for people to learn how to socialise with other people.
Yeah.
Like, how to get along with other people, how to socialise, how to be normal. But what if someone has got too many childhood problems that they're, dangerous or
don't get me wrong.
people?
Don't get me wrong. Some of these kids 100% belong there.
Yeah.
Lenny doesn't. Some of these kids, they can't be in a normal school.
Yeah.
They can't. I mean, Nelson? In a normal school?
No.
Impossible.
But yeah, some of the other kids in Raccoon. So there's a kid called Mo.
Really cute kid. He's missing all his front teeth. I don't know how it happened, but he is still really cute. Non-verbal, really sleepy. He'll just fall asleep. Really cute. And the last two,
their names are Millhouse and Seymour. Now, Millhouse,
at first, was one of my least favourite kids. Now he's one of my favourite.
I actually really love Millhouse. Now, Millhouse has got this...
So he's got Down syndrome. He's like the youngest kid in the class. I'm pretty sure he's only like 4 or 5. He's got Down syndrome. He's non-verbal, apart from one word. Yeah. And he says it a lot. To anything. Which is also kind of scary. Because he will. He'll say it to anything. Some guy could come over and be like, "Hey kid, you want to come to my van?" Yeah. But yeah, he says yeah a lot. And he's got this obsession with throwing things. But he's also a very small child, so he can't throw anything hard. So we've got like these little like ball pit balls. And he not only does he throw them, but he throws them specifically at an open window that we have, trying to get it. And it doesn't matter how many times you tell him, you have to sit him down. We've got a little egg timer. You have to turn it and be like, "Why are we sat here? Is it because we're throwing things? Yeah. Are we gonna throw things anymore? Yeah. No. We're not gonna throw things anymore, are we? Yeah." Egg timer runs out, gets up, immediately throws.
But here's when I started to like Millhouse.
Because it's not that I disliked him, but he was getting really annoying with it. When I started to like him,
was because of a kid called Seymour. Now, Seymour might be my least favourite student.
It may be the entire school. That's a lie, actually. I'm going to come back to that. Because I've got a least... I know who he is, actually. I hate him. I really hate... I know you shouldn't hate kids. I hate this kid, and I'm going to come back to that.
But no, Seymour's one of my least favourites for sure.
So his thing... Again, he's non-verbal too. A lot of these kids are.
Apart from Lenny.
And his thing... He does 2 things that really annoy me. 3 things that really annoy me. He's a pincher. So he'll come up to you, and he's not that short. He can get it. He'll come up and he'll pinch your cheek. He'll grab it and just fucking pinch it like that. Right. Really hard, really hard. So now, with the adults, he's done it to me a good couple of times, I can take it. He pinches the kids. He pinches the other kids, and he's strong enough that he has broken the skin. Bruh. On some of these kids' cheeks. So when that happens, you got when I say strong enough, he's like an Eric Cartman. He's a fat kid.
Yeah.
He's quite strong.
Do it to him.
Well, I can't do it to him, but when he's pinching a kid that hard, you're allowed to be a bit... I'm not going to say tougher, because I'm not trying to hurt him, but at the same time, his hand needs to get off that fucking cheek. So at that point, you're kind of... If you have to, you're squeezing his hand a bit. You're pulling back the fingers. Like, you can't be like,
"Oh, Seymour.
Oh, don't put your... No. Get your hand off his cheek right now."
Yeah.
So you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
So that's first thing that annoys me. Second thing, random hits. And again, he's not a weak kid. He's a big boy. Yeah. He's chunky. Random hits. He'll just come up and just slap you. Here's the thing. I don't think he's doing it maliciously. I think he has crucially misunderstood the idea of a high five. I really do. I'm not lying. Because he does it a lot when he gets excited too.
Which makes it worse, because everyone's like, "Yay!" and then Seymour just fucking slaps him.
But I think he's trying to high five, and he doesn't understand that the other person needs to be ready for the high five. Yeah. But it leads into the third thing that annoys me, which is he is touchy, inappropriately.
Yeah.
There's been many times, and it's worse for the women. But there's been many times for me where I'll be blunt, grabbed my dick.
Bruh.
But for the women, he's doing shit like squeezing their boobs. If they bend over for something, he'll come over and he'll either hit it or he will actually just squeeze their ass. And that is like, man, I imagine him as like Lenny from Of Mice and Men. I wouldn't, if someone told me in 20 years, "Oh,
did you hear about that kid Seymour who you used to know from class?"
He fucking killed a woman. He squeezed some woman's tit and she freaked out and he just fucking grabbed her with like he squeezed her cheeks to death. I'd be like, yeah, of course he did. Like 100%.
God, see, I bet his parents are fucking pieces of shit.
Oh, actually, hugely fun fact.
Nelson?
Yeah.
His cousin.
Oh.
So he's probably going to go up to be a brick shit house too.
Okay,
Because again, he's already a big kid.
Another thing about Millhouse,
So there's a kid...
oh my god, how did I forget about Apu? So there's another kid in the class called Apu. I also really don't like Apu, actually. I really don't like Apu.
There's actually a lot of kids in the school that Bradley hates.
No, there's a lot... Yes, there is actually. But there's also loads more that I like.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I don't like Apu for...
for a couple of main reasons. So he's... Not only is he non-verbal, but in my opinion, he's got zero capacity of knowledge. As in, like...
This kid doesn't even understand Pythagoras.
No, but like, there's not a single instruction that this kid will understand. He can't even high five. A lot of these kids can high five.
And that is why Bradley hates him.
No, why I hate him is because he three main reasons. One, this kid will not do any work. He won't sit down, he won't do anything, and you're constantly having to, like, get him on your lap and shit. At which point, second reason why I hate him, he will start freaking out, and he does this thing where he fucking tries to headbutt you from back.
Bruh.
He's not gotten me, because I'm a fast fucker myself. I've caught him before, like, oh, hey, you little bastard. But I've seen him now some of the women in the class.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and it doesn't look nice. Third reason I don't like him, he really enjoys taking off his clothes.
All of his clothes?
And yes, all of his clothes.
Jesus Christ.
So he'll start off in the morning, he'll take off his shoes, and that's not too bad. A lot of these kids take off their shoes, they like sensations and shit.
Millhouse also takes off his shoes and then fucking lobs them out a window.
He'll take off his shoes, fair enough. Then he will take off his shirt and then he will try to take off his trousers. No, we notice by the shirt. He's not doing it all at once. He's got like a little system. And the main reason he takes off the shirt, he has this compulsive need to flap. There's a really specific thing he does.
He's also, if you can't tell by the name Apu,
I think he's Indian, which is going to tie into something later. But he does this thing where he gets the flappy thing, t-shirt, item of clothing. There's also like, we've got like some, what are they called? Like you can fucking, like you can fucking...
Well, like the tea towel things.
Yeah, like tea towel things, but they're like light and colourful.
Oh, I think I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. So he'll take them, he'll sit on the floor with them, and he'll do this thing where it's almost like he's compulsively folding it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this is true, but I almost think, because he is Indian, I almost think it's something he could have seen his parents do. Because it resembles what I've seen Indian people do in films when they pray, which is like they get a little thing, they fold it in front of them, and then they kneel on it.
Yeah.
It almost looks like he's trying to do that.
Yeah.
But he's doing it fucking compulsively, really far, everywhere. Every corner of the room he runs to it, just fucking starts. And yeah, again, zero capacity for anything. He's the sort of kid where if you're not holding his hand and physically like dragging him somewhere, he won't go. You know, he won't sit on the chair on his own. You've got to hold him. I had to do cooking with him once, and about a quarter of the way through, one of the teachers, Kelly, went, "Bradley,
would you rather me do Apu and you do Seymour? Because they could tell."
I'm not going to say they could tell I was getting angry, because I get angry at work, but at the same time, I get it. They're kids on the spectrum. I'm not that angry.
Yeah.
They could tell I was getting a bit frustrated.
Yeah.
So they were like, would you rather do Seymour? And I've already told you about Seymour. So they were like, would you rather do Seymour and I do Apu? And I was like,
Honestly,
yes, please. Yes, please can you do Apu?
I'd rather work with the little grabber.
Than Apu. 100%.
Yeah.
And the reason I brought up Apu, the reason I remembered Apu, is because Millhouse has this weird compulsion. Because again, Apu will bend down in order to flap something, and Millhouse will sit on his back.
Now,
I'm not saying Millhouse is racist,
But he is the only brown kid in the class. The only one.
Yeah.
And he's the only one that Milhouse...
Sits on. Is he racist? Maybe. That's all I'm saying. Maybe. But yeah, that's been because I've been in this job for a month.
Do you think you're gonna make it? Do you think you're gonna be able to save this 10 grand?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can do this. Yeah.
I knew you could. I knew you could from the beginning.
Here's another thing about me, audience. Even if I hated this job and I wanted to kill myself every day, and Hector will confirm this to be true, I have indomitable willpower. I will torture myself every day for 10 years if it means I get what I want in the end.
It's true. Actually, yeah, this is true. And after that, well, to be fair, after the first day, even I was like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
This is going to be insane.
Yeah, I want you to think about it, audience. The first day happened, I thought it was going to be a permanent thing in that class, and I went back.
Yeah, so did I. When you told the story, I was like, holy fucking shit. Because that is seriously rough. That would have been fucking rough as shit.
And
especially if you had to change their nappies, man, that would have fucking sucked. But you were like, you know what? I fucking got this. I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
And then Dan was like, Bradley, you're above this.
Yeah.
You need to quit this job immediately.
Yeah.
And give up instantly on the first day.
And don't get me wrong, it's not as if I didn't have ideas like that, but at the same time, because my family were also like, you should quit.
Yeah.
Here's what you've got to understand, audience. I think I told the audience about PlusNet before. I left that in February, and I spent about 6 months trying to find a job.
No.
I'm not going to take the first one I actually managed to get, which, by the way, pays good money. Again, I only technically work for like 5.5 hours a day. I'm not going to reveal my earnings on the podcast, but for what I'm making for 5.5 hours a day is the same as I was making in PlusNet for 8 total hours. 8.5 technically, because you weren't paid for your lunch break.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay money. I'm fine
So
with
it
this.
works out better, and you have more free time.
And I have more free time. Because again, it's school hours. 8:30 till 3:30. That's great.
I mean, it's still a fucking tough job to get through, but I mean,
again, it's...
at the end of the tunnel, you'll have 10 grand and you'll be off to America to start a new future. That's like...
And it really is, because while it can be rough, this really is a job where some days, heartbreaking. Some kids, heartbreaking. Some of them are really heartwarming. Some of these kids are just really, really great kids.
They really are. I mean, there's one kid called Tony.
Who... I feel bad. He tries his best to make friends. And some of the kids just really don't like him.
Well, I mean, that's the problem. When he's in a school like that, how the fuck are you going to make friends?
No,
Everyone's
exactly.
Autistic. Yeah.
And so there are times where, but like, he's a really great kid, and I know a lot of these kids have good hearts. Even
kids like Nelson.
Because again, he spent 6 months, and this the first thing he said when he got back was he apologised.
Yeah. Well, he did break her shoulder. I'm gonna be shocked if that girl doesn't end up in prison. Because after school, you know,
well, no. Because
how do you not go to juvenile like after dislocating an adult's?
Well,
shoulder?
no, because it's not. You've got to remember these are kids who are recognised as special needs and disabled. Even if he's an adult and he does that, he's not going to prison.
Really?
He's going to like an institute.
Oh, right. Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
You're not going to put someone like that into Gen Pop, you know?
Yeah.
Or you're going to be my bitch, and he just fucking slaughters half the fucking staff and prisoners. Like, no, he'd go to an institution where people would be like,
"Have you had your pudding today, Nelson?"
Yeah.
You know? He wouldn't go to prison.
Yeah. He'd go to the retard version of prison, which is a hospital.
Yeah. And another thing I want to quickly say to the audience, because a lot of people are like, oh, retard, you know, horrible word, it's a slur. As someone who has met and worked with a bunch of retarded people right now, I think is actually a very accurate word, a very accurate description. Yeah. Because it is. Retard means slow. That's what it means. A lot of these kids are really slow. The 15-year-olds are doing work at a, you know, what's 10 plus 8? You know? And that's not a diss to them. Yeah. It's a fact.
Yeah.
You can't look at that and be like, these kids are quick thinkers. No, they're slow kids. They are retarded kids. Unless you're using it as... The only way that retard becomes a slur is if you're referring to someone who isn't retarded as a retard.
Yeah.
You know? I've got an idea. I've got an idea for tonight. We could go to a park. We don't drink. We just go to a park and go sit in a tree at our age of 23, and we don't even look at the stars. We all just stare at the floor, and you'd be like, "That's a retarded plan. That's a really dumb plan." That's when it becomes an insult. Yes. But to actually refer to a child who is retarded as retarded, that's not an insult. Yeah. That's not an insult. They should wear it as, I'm not going to say they should wear it as a badge of honour, but it should be recognised like that's not an insult. That's, again, some people think calling someone autistic is an insult. It is. Not if they're actually fucking autistic. At that point, it's just...
Which is how David would take it. Whenever we're in an argument, I'd be like, David, I think you are autistic.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, ad hominem.
One ad hominem response, which, by the way, is one of the most autistic responses I've ever heard.
Bradley works with autistic people.
Yeah.
Okay, he knows.
Yeah. But yeah, that's been my life. And again, I really want to reiterate to the audience, the kids aren't the bar of these jokes. Everything I've said today in that little segment was true. All of that was a fact. And they aren't the butt of the joke. My response is the butt of the joke. I'm not making fun of any of these kids. Again, I really like some of these kids. I don't like some of them, and I've told you about that. But at the end of the day, they all have a really, really good excuse for why they are the way they are. And I can't diss that. Yeah. There's not a single... Here's the best way of putting it. There's not a single kid there that I think's faking.
Imagine that. Okay.
But yeah.
What an interesting spice up to our life stories we've had. Where are we at?
We're at an hour and a half, so I think we can end it here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to record another episode soon anyway.
Oh, but we also have another event that's happened recently, which was we went to see Auntie Donna.
Oh, I know, but honestly, because it is 10.
Wow, it is 10.
Yeah, so okay, yeah. I say, because at the weekend we could talk a lot more.
Alright, well, that's a cliffhanger then for you to watch.
I'm going to give some more of a cliffhanger. So the next episode, Dan will also be here. We're going to be drunk again. Yeah. Like we have been for every other episode of this podcast.
Dan will probably say something that will ruin the podcast and make it unreleasable. Yeah. So it'll be another unreleased podcast. Yeah.
And we're going to talk, and the three main topics we know we're going to talk about is Auntie Donna, which we went and saw live, Saw 10, and the film Parasite, which Hector recently watched. Yeah. So it's going to be a fun one. Yeah. And again, we're all going to be really drunk. And it's going to be a blast. And I really hope you enjoyed this episode.
We'll probably also talk about America.
And yeah. But unironically, this was fun to do sober.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, I remember I tried... we just quickly, we recorded an episode a couple of weekends ago with my friend Sam on our phones. And I was trying to tell that whole thing about my new job. But we were really, really drunk. And I remember... there was so much I missed out because I couldn't think of it. I was only given like the Cliff Notes version. Yeah. I skipped days. I was like, okay, the first day happened, and then I went into Raccoons, and then that's it. That's all the only classes I've done. Yeah. So yeah. But
we talked mostly about Oppenheimer for some reason.
Yeah, even though our last episode 26, we spoke about Oppenheimer for 45 minutes. So yeah, we should...
Actually, it's a good thing we didn't really start that. Yeah.
It would have been very repetitive. Yeah. But yeah, so doing an episode sober, especially this one where I'm talking about real serious shit. Yeah, I'm happy about that. Yeah. We should do it more often. Yeah. No, we shouldn't.
Let's never do this.
Let's get drunk every night for the rest of our lives.
Let's get drunk every day.
Let's become alcoholics. I think
you should go to work drunk.
Oh, I should. Yeah. And when they catch me, I can be like,
I have autism.
You know what? I'm going to finish the day. When they're like, are you drunk? I'm going to go, but yeah, good episode.
Good night, everyone. Peace.
Good night, sweet dreams. Bye.